All right, what is going on, guys? Thank you for everyone coming to check out the live stream today. We have 9 NBA games to talk about. Pretty excited to go over this slate. I think there's going to be some popular plays. There's going to be some interesting pivots and GPPs. We did get some news we're waiting on earlier in the day with the status of Harden and Luka. They're both in, so again, changes some things. If they were both out, obviously there's a ton of value there. But they're now both in. I think there is still some value elsewhere we can look to, which I will get to. But yeah, again, if you guys are new to the stream, it's the first time watching, welcome. My name's DK. How this will work is we'll take a look at what we know so far. We'll review the Vegas odds, and then we'll go kind of team by team, talk about the players that I like for each team, and then get to questions at the end. So let's start with what we know so far. And just scrolling from most recent news, we did just get the Magic starting lineup. Evan Fournier is once again out, so I think Michael Carter-Williams is a viable punt there at 4.6K. Also, a guy like Terrence Ross at the bench is going to have to shoot a lot more, so I think he's a viable GPP play. As far as Pistons news, we got Josh Jackson out and Blake Griffin for rest out. Now, I was expecting Derrick Rose to be out too, but he is playing in this one. So we'll get to some Pistons value. I think that's definitely where we can open up or get some of the studs in our lineup is with some Pistons value. Again, Harden's in, Luka's in, Jeff Teague is out, Marcus Smart is questionable. If Smart is out too, definitely some value here for Boston, obviously with a guy like Peyton Pritchard, and then possibly whoever else to add to the rotation. Is it Waters? Is it a guy like Carson Edwards maybe? And then let's see. I think that's basically it. So we're up to date with news. We did just get some Knicks news. So Alec Burks is out. Dennis Smith Jr. also out. Okay, not a huge surprise there, but again, Knicks are going to be pretty shorthanded once again. Let's take a look at these Vegas odds here. So let me refresh this and make sure we're up to date. What's going on, guys? What's going on, fellow DK? How you doing, man? All right, so we got Hornets. We have 76ers. It's a 221.5 over under. The 76ers are 8-point favorites. I think if the Hornets can keep it close, there's some upside there with the big three from Philly, obviously with Ben Simmons, with Embiid and Tobias Harris. Cavs Magic, it's a 215.5 over under. The Magic are 5.5-point favorites. We're still waiting on Darius Garland news. Definitely changes some things. Could open up some value there for the Cavs. Also, Isaac Okoro questionable. We have Celtics with Raptors, again, waiting on Marcus Smart news. It's a 218.5 over under. The Raptors are 5-point favorites. Knicks and Hawks, 223 over under. The Hawks are 7-point favorites. We have Thunder, we have Heat. It's a 214 over under. The Heat are 9-point favorites. Mavs and Rockets, this one looks pretty appealing. A 230 over under. The Rockets are 4-point favorites. Pistons and Bucks, 224 over under, but currently 16-point favorites. The Bucks are. Pacers, Pelicans, a 217 over under. The Pelicans are 1.5-point favorites. And the late night hammer here, Kings, Warriors, I believe by 2 hours. Yeah, the standalone game by 2 hours, a 234 over under. The Kings are currently 2.5-point favorites. All right, so let's start with the Cavs and the Magic. Again, we are still waiting on Darius Garland news. He is questionable. Let me just make sure we didn't get that in the last minute or so there that I was talking. We still are waiting on that. Okay, so this could open up some value. Garland was playing huge minutes, so it would be interesting to see what they do with the starting lineup if he is in fact out. Also, Isaac Okoro still questionable. He's missed the last few games, so if they're both out, I would think probably C.D. Osman moves into the starting lineup and then would become a pretty decent play at 5K. Would assume he probably gets 30-plus minutes. A guy like Dante Exum has already been starting, a lower usage guy, but 28 and 35 minutes. Again, hasn't done a ton with those minutes, but I think you can definitely look to him for salary relief because of just the minutes alone. And then, maybe they add a guy like Damian Dotson to, get more minutes, but that would be a pretty risky punt. As far as the main guys go, don't even want to say his name after what he did to us the other night. Just getting benched for no reason. Just dumb by the coach, in my opinion. But yeah, if he gets over 30 minutes, I think he could have a really nice day here. No one's going to play him after he burned everyone the other night. So like him for GPPs, but definitely can't go there in cash games. Colin Sexton at 7.2. I've heard his name a decent amount today. I think he's a fine play. Not a priority for me. Even if Garland gets out, he's still not a priority. And the reason being is he is very scoring dependent for a point guard. He doesn't do a whole lot else besides score the ball. So on games where he's not shooting the ball super well, the floor is somewhat low with him. I still think he's a solid option. Obviously, we'll get a slight boost if Garland is out, but still wouldn't be a priority for me against the Magic. Yeah, Larry Nance is 7-1, just a secondary play. Again, the minutes are there, but when playing alongside Drummond, doesn't have a ton of upside. And then if you think Drummond gets benched again, then you want to go to JaVale McGee because he's a great point per minute guy. That game he got extended because Drummond got benched. He played 25 minutes and had almost 40 fantasy points, right? So he's a great point per minute guy. The price is up. I think the only way to play him is if you think Drummond gets benched again. But that's it for the Cavs. Let's move on to the Magic. So Vucevic, I think, is a pretty safe play at 8-8. Minutes in competitive games have been about mid-30s recently. He's at 50-plus in the 2 games that have stayed close. It's a good matchup here. Not afraid of Drummond defense or Nance or JaVale McGee, right? Vucevic should be able to have his way here. So I think he's an interesting play. I don't think he's going to be super popular. Kind of like him as a contrarian GPP play tonight. I think he's safe with a bit of upside. Markelle Fultz is fine at 6'5", but point guard is really, really loaded today, so hard for me to really prioritize him. Now, a guy like Aaron Gordon at 5'9", I think is definitely viable here. It did play 28 minutes. Finally, they've kind of upped the minutes a bit. He was hovering around like 20-ish, played 28 that last game. So if we're going to get close to 30 minutes of Aaron Gordon against the Cavs, I think he is a little bit underpriced. So I think he's a nice cash game play. You can look to him in both formats. Terrence Ross is definitely in play for GPP. Shot the ball 21 times. Again, still does have a somewhat low floor if he's not hitting his shots. Like that game against OKC, right? 18 fantasy points because he had 14 real life points and nothing else. So floor is still somewhat low with him. Did shoot the ball 21 times though. So like he's going to get some shots up. It's a good matchup. Price is up though. You're going to have to pay premium for him. So for me, I don't like paying premiums for guys. Like in DFS, I like buying low. I like buying on guys who have to have a bad game or a couple bad games and the price drops. Terrence Ross just had a big game, shot the ball well. I think ownership will be up. I'm not saying he's a bad play, but personally, I'm going to look elsewhere with a guy that is scoring dependent. Again, no Fournier, so MCW should play about 30 minutes. I think he's a fine value. Not a guy that's a ton of upside, but for more of a cash game play for salary relief. And that's really it. Cole Anthony got limited off the bench, so not really interested there. Charlotte, Philly. So this game does have some blowout risk on the Charlotte side. This is a team I'm not super excited about. With Hayward versus Rozier versus Devontae Graham. These guys are fine options, but not priorities for me. Like Devontae Graham, this is an interesting buy low here, right? Because he shot the ball. He's literally shooting like 10% from the field this year. Not that bad, but it's been pretty bad. Like he has not been shooting the ball well. We know he has upside. We've seen multiple 50-plus fantasy point games from Devontae Graham last year. So he's not going to continue to shoot this bad, or he probably won't. Again, you're getting him at a pretty low price at 5.7. I think it's an interesting GPP play tonight because no one's going to play him. But if he gets it going, like he's a guy that will play mid-30s minutes if the game stays close and does have upside. So again, interesting contrarian buy low opportunity there in a guy like Devontae Graham. If you think he continues to struggle, then you want to look to LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball's been decent off the bench, probably gets extended a bit even more if the game does blow out. So I think LaMelo Ball firmly in play here. Again, if you think Devontae Graham struggles, again, I think LaMelo Ball is a decent play there in the mid-range. The issue I have, though, is, again, point guard is really, really loaded today. So hard for me to prioritize him. I mean, point guard and center is really loaded. Hard for me to prioritize one of these Charlotte guards over some other guys who we'll get to in a bit. And I don't want to play Biyombo or PJ Washington. Too afraid of the foul trouble risk going up against Joel Embiid, so I'll just stay away. On the Philly side, it's the top 3 guys. Embiid at 9.9, Ben Simmons at 9.1, Tobias at 7.6. I don't think any of these are guys going to be super, super popular. All 3 have upside. I mean, you saw the massive game from Tobias, but that was an outlier, right? He had 9 boards, 6 assists, 3 blocks, and 4 steals. That's not a Tobias Harris, right? Tobias Harris is usually score the ball and get rebounds, and that's about it. So the matchup is good. He did just have a big game. He's had 50-plus in 2 of the last 3 games. I think the ownership will be up. Kind of the same with Terrence Ross. If I think the ownership's going to be that high, I'll probably pass. Sorry about that. But I don't think he's a terrible play. He should play mid-30s minutes. It's a good matchup. So, yeah, Tobias definitely viable. Sorry about that. Ben Simmons, Embiid at 9.1 and 9.9 respectively. Again, I don't think these guys are going to be super popular tonight with some of the other studs. I think we'll get some more ownership. But both are in a pretty good spot here. Ben Simmons went for over 50 that last game. Embiid, we know, has 60-plus fantasy point upside anytime he takes the court. So the 3 studs are all viable for Philly, but I don't know if one really stands out a ton. Seth Curry in the mid-range should play about 30 minutes. He's been pretty consistent. I think he's a decent play at that price. Value for Philly, again, Milton's been up and down. Danny Green is very reliant on the scoring. I mean, you can take a shot on him, but the floor is very low. Not a ton else I like for the Philadelphia side. So let's move on to New York and Atlanta. This game looks pretty appealing for kind of like a game stack, a more contrarian stack. I don't think a lot of people, or I don't think a lot of guys in this game are going to be popular, but there's definitely some upside here. We'll start with Julius Randle at 9K. Like him as a contrarian GPP play tonight. Again, don't think the ownership's going to be high in him. He should play about 40 minutes in a great spot, up tempo, and he's a guy that's stuff in the stat sheet. And the Knicks are really shorthanded once again, so they're basically going to run like an 8-9 man rotation. I think Randle firmly in play there at the top. RJ Barrett at 6'7" would rather get to Randle, or would rather honestly take a shot at Alf Payton and hope he gets the minutes. Now, Alf Payton's minutes have been up and down, 36, then 23, then 34. But they are pretty thin, and it's a good spot. And he's a guy that stuffs the stat sheet. So I do have interest in Alfred Payton. It's just a fact of, will he get the minutes? A little more risky, but I think if I knew Alfred Payton was going to play 35 minutes tonight, I would have a lot of interest in him. Mitchell Robinson's secondary play with all the other centers on the slate. And Alec Burks is out, so Reggie Bullock should play 30-plus minutes. He's a low-usage guy, but you can definitely punt with him. I don't think he's going to be super popular tonight. And that's really it. I'll mention Nerlens Noel just because, again, he's a good point-per-minute guy. And the game when Mitchell Robinson picks up 2 fouls in 2 minutes, Nerlens Noel is going to smash. And he's going to break the slate. If we get like 25 minutes out of Nerlens Noel, he can go for 30-plus easily. So we'll always mention him. But that's it for the Knicks side. Let's move on to the Hawks. So Trae Young, again, more of a contrarian play at the top for me, but does have 50-plus fantasy point upside. Again, more of a GPP play, though. Collins at 7-2. Secondary play for me, would rather get to Capella, who has played 30-plus minutes in back-to-back games. I think we get about 30 tonight in a good matchup. I think he's still a little bit underpriced. So, again, point guard and center is pretty low tonight, but I think Capella is a pretty solid option at this price. Does have upside. Minutes should be about 30. I think he looks pretty good. Bogdan 5'5", Hunter 5'2", Reddish at 5'1". These guys are fine options. I guess, Hunter would probably be my favorite of the bunch, but still, like, no one really stands out as a fantastic play there. If you land on one of those guys, that's fine. Kevin Huerter is questionable. If he misses, there's probably a few extra minutes for those wings like Bogdan, like Hunter, like Reddish. But yeah, that's kind of it. Like Rondo at 3-1, doubtful. Don't expect him to play. So that is it for the Hawks side. Let's move on to OKC and Miami. Before we do, though, guys, I'll ask if you enjoy this content to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We are now at 450 viewers, 58 likes. Let's try to aim for 100 likes on this live stream. Would be greatly appreciated, guys. It does help me out a ton. So let's talk about OKC and Miami. This game is not super appealing for me, at least. Tougher matchup here for the Thunder. SG at 7-8, contrarian play. I'll pass. Horford and Bazley. Again, they seem priced about right for this matchup. They still can have upside. I do like Darius. Like, I'm a big Darius Bazley fan, but tonight against the Heat, I'm probably not going to do it. And Dort 5K, I think there's better options. George Hill's a 4-9. He did play 28 minutes the last game, which is a little bit good. It's good to see that he can play over like 24 minutes. So yeah, George Hill probably be my favorite of this bunch, but still, I'm not like really excited about any of these Thunder. And on the opposite side, on the Heat side, they're just a balanced team when everyone's healthy. So I don't have a ton of interest. I know Jimmy Butler, people have been mentioning him. I think he's fine. But again, they are balanced, right? They have Bam. They have Hero. They have Dragic, right? When Dragic got on the court off the bench, he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. So it's just, sure, the price is down on Jimmy. 7-4 does seem a little bit cheap. But I think I like the upside on other guys at a similar price. So Jimmy's a fine like cash play, but I'm not going to go there personally. Bam seems priced about right. Again, Hero, Dragic priced up a bit when Jimmy was out. So there's not a ton. I like Kelly Olynyk did play 29 minutes that last game, but again, Jimmy struggled. So I don't know if we get those type of minutes again. You can punt with Olynyk, but there's games where he plays like 20-plus minutes, and then there's games where he DNPs, right? I liked him on Christmas, and he DNP'd. So, like, he is a guy that, like, again, will play like 20-plus minutes one game, and then will not play the next game. So, like, that's always a risk with Kelly Olynyk is if you play him, there's a chance he might not even play. But he's a good opponent for guys who can take a shot at him in GPPs. Duncan Robinson at 4-6 and very reliant on the scoring. Again, GPP play because he is so score independent. Let's move on to Boston and Toronto. So Boston, we're still waiting on Marcus Smart news. Let's see if we got any more updates here. Let me refresh this. Marcus Smart did get ruled out. Okay. Oh, Rondo expected to be available to play. All right. Herder expected to be available to play too. Hawks will start Young, Reddish, Hunter, Collins, Capella. All right. So back to Atlanta real quick. I think a pretty interesting like punt play that no one will play is Rajon Rondo now that he's probable to play. Should play 15 minutes. He's a good point for a guy, and it's a good matchup. So you could get 20-plus fantasy points from Rondo in 15 minutes. I think it's an interesting play that no one will play. Let's see. But all right, so Miami, we just talked about that. So Boston, with Marcus Smart now out, obviously that's a slight boost to Tatum and Brown at the top. They look a little bit better. Not really the best matchup, but the guy that stands out to me for value is Peyton Pritchard. 3.7K. He was already a decent part of this rotation, playing mid-20s minutes. Now there's no Jeff Teague. Now there's no Marcus Smart. So they are getting to be pretty thin. I expect at least 30 minutes from Pritchard tonight. At 3.7, I think he makes for one of the better value plays of the day. Once again, though, point guard is loaded. So you got to make some tough calls here at point guard. Right? We have Luka. We have John Wall. We have Steph. We have De'Aaron Fox. There's a lot of good spend-up point guards. I do like Peyton Pritchard a lot for value, but you can only play 3 point guards at most tonight. So you got to make some tough calls. Really do like Pritchard, though, for value. Again, Tatum, Brown are good spend-up options, not priorities for me, but they do get a boost with no Marcus Smart. As far as like Tice, Thompson, Robert Williams, Thompson's the guy for me at 4-4. He's been getting the most minutes. I think he's a good cash game play if you need a cheaper option. I think he plays mid-20s minutes and probably gets you close to a double-double. Right, so Tristan Thompson is a safe value play I like for cash games. And then it's going to be interesting to see what Boston does with the starting lineup, right? Because I think they're going to have to add one of those other guards, whether it be Carson Edwards or Tremont Waters, right? Because if we just look at the rotation now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8-man rotation, basically. Like, I think they're going to have to add one of these guards, whether it be Edwards or Waters. So maybe they start him. Maybe they continue to bring Pritchard off the bench, and maybe they start one of these guys. If that's the case, you could possibly punt there. We'll have to see what the starting lineup is, but possible value with one of Edwards or Waters, but very risky if they do not start. Let's move on to Boston. So, on the Toronto side. Toronto is a team that, I like targeting because the minutes are always there for the main 3 guys, and Lowry, Van Fleet, and Siakam all will play 35-plus minutes if they stay out of foul trouble. Again, Siakam fouled out in back-to-back games. Van Fleet, Lowry, these guys fill up the stat sheet. They play big minutes. I think they're safe options, but not priorities for me. Good cash game plays, I would say. OG at 6'2", again, same thing, big minutes, but just a fine play. Now, Boucher is a guy who intrigues me for GPPs. He got extended a bit that last game because Siakam foul trouble. I still don't know what his normal rotation is going to be when everything goes right and Siakam plays his normal minutes, right? So, Boucher intrigues me. If I knew he's going to play 25-plus minutes, I would probably lock him in because he's that good of a point per minute guy. But I'm just a little bit worried with his minutes. I think they could go down to 15-ish. So there is some risk here. Perfect GPP play, though, that being Chris Boucher. The value guys, I don't think we have to go there anyone else on Toronto just because they run a pretty tight rotation. Let's move on to Dallas and Houston. So Dallas, we did just get the news that, again, earlier that Luka Doncic is probable. I think he's one of the best spend-ups of the slate. Because last year, when Kristaps Porzingis was out, Luka was a 12K plus guy. He was averaging 60-plus fantasy points. This is a fantastic up-tempo matchup against Houston. As long as he stays healthy, I think Luka is one of the better spend-ups of the slate. Safe guy, or safe with a ton of upside in a great matchup. So do like Luka a good amount there at the top. I think he is one of the better spend-ups of the slate. The secondary options now, so with Luka playing, don't think we get to Brunson or Burke. I mean, you can honestly still punt with Brunson. I think he plays 15-ish minutes. He's been a decent punt burner guy, so you could still punt with him if you want to, if you need someone that cheap. But the value, Hardaway, Jay Rich, I probably would give that to Jay Rich just because he does a little bit more other than scoring. Hardaway, I mean, he hasn't done a ton, but these guys are more secondary options to me when Luka plays. I still think Dorian Finney-Smith is a fine punt. He didn't do a ton the last game at 36 minutes, but he should play 30-plus in a good matchup. Again, not a super high-usage guy, but we've seen some decent games from Dorian Finney-Smith. So if you need someone to punt with, I think he's a decent cash play because the minutes should be there. Powell and Kleber kind of splitting the center minutes. I think I would prefer Kleber if you're going to make me pick. He's played 28 and 29 minutes the last couple games. So, yeah, you can still punt with him, but not an amazing play either. All right, let's move on to Houston. So Houston, with James Harden playing at 11.1K, I think Harden is a decent option, but there's not a ton of standout value in the slate, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to play him and then feel really comfortable with your lineup. Now, I do think Harden is going to be pretty low owned, right? Because I think ownership kind of, trends towards Luka or Steph Curry tonight or some other guys. So, Harden, I think, flies under the radar. I think we get a sub 10% on James Harden at 11-1. I think he does have a good amount of upside here. I do like him, but again, I think I would put him as a GBP play just because of the price. Now, John Wall's at 7.6. I think this is a little bit underpriced here. And the reason being, he's played 37 minutes in the two games he's played so far. Like, I was worried he was only going to play 30, 32 minutes, 37. And when Harden's off the court, the offense is running through him and Christian Wood. He's the guy that can stuff the stat sheet too. I just think 7.6 is still underpriced. So I think John Wall is a really nice play there at 7.6. I also still like Christian Wood. I mean, the offense is running through these top three guys. Christian Wood should play over 30 minutes. He's been pretty solid in the games he's played. Again, one of the better center plays in my opinion. So the top three Rockets I have interest in. Eric Gordon's out of play for me with Harden playing. The boogeyman at 4.7 would have wished he was a little bit cheaper. I mean, I think you would still punt. Like, if something happens and Christian Wood gets in some foul trouble and Boogie plays 20-plus minutes, he will smash. But right now, 14 and 11, a little bit harder to feel good about that. Guys like Tucker, guys like House, minutes should be solid for them, but not priorities to me on this slate. And that's really it for Dallas and Houston. So let me refresh Fantasy Labs one more time. Let's see if we got any more news, and let's finish it up with the last couple games here. We are up to date. Okay. So, Detroit-Milwaukee, this game has a 16-point spread. Very, very good chance this game blows out. So, I think you can approach this one of two ways, right, this game. If you think the game stays close, you're probably going to play Giannis and then at least one of those Detroit guys. I would say D. Rose is the bring-back if I'm going to play Giannis. I think if Detroit's going to keep this competitive, you're probably going to see a big game from Derrick Rose. So, the same exact thing I told you guys last night, right, with Denver. I told you guys, if you're playing Jokic, run it back with Beasley or D'Angelo Russell, because the only way Minnesota keeps it close is with those two guys. And you saw a massive game from Malik Beasley. You saw a decent game from D'Angelo Russell. But this is the same sort of situation, right? This game has a really, really good shot of blowing out. If you are playing Giannis, though, I would run it back with Rose. I think Rose plays close to 30 minutes. He's the guy that's going to have a big game if Detroit's want to keep it close. So Rose, I like in GPPs, not a cash game play. You can make the argument for Jeremy Grant, too, like Rose or Jeremy Grant. I think, one of the other. I probably prefer the price on Derrick Rose, but both these two are going to have to step it up big time if Detroit's going to want to keep this competitive. So, yeah, if you're playing Giannis, maybe bring him back with Jeremy Grant or Derrick Rose. Again, no Blake Griffin, no Josh Jackson, so they're pretty thin. Mason Plumlee's at 5'8", should play 30 minutes. You know what you're getting out of him. I think he's a safe cash game play. DeLon Wright, we're still waiting on the starting lineups. He came out the bench last game. I think he does start here. Minutes haven't been great for him. But I think they start Killian Hayes, DeLon Wright in the backcourt with Saddiq Bey, Jeremy Grant, and Mason Plumlee. That's my guess for the starting lineup. If that's the case, I think we probably get at least mid-20s minutes from DeLon Wright. So I think he does make for an interesting punt play there at shooting guard. Saddiq Bey, too, I think is one of the better value plays. Should probably start and play about 30 minutes. I think firmly in play here, that being Saddiq Bey, that being DeLon Wright. There's not a ton of standout values like these two, Peyton Pritchard. Those are the guys that are kind of looking to here for value. As far as like the end of the bench guys, or like Killian Hayes, you can make the argument for too with 3.5. But for me, I would rather take the shot on DeLon Wright at a similar price. Now, guys, Fima Kyluk probably gets blowout run if you think the game does blow out. I think you could punt with him, but again, you do need the blowout most likely. Same thing with Sekou, right? These end of the bench guys probably get extended a bit if the game does in fact does blow out. Let's talk about Milwaukee. So Giannis, I think, is one of the best GPP plays of the slate. He's going to be low owned. If Detroit can somehow keep this close, though, we could see 70 plus from Giannis. We saw 68 and 65 from him the last two games. So Giannis has an enormous upside here if Detroit can keep it close. So like I said, if you're going to play Giannis Antetokounmpo GPPs tonight, I would run it back with Derrick Rose and Jeremy Grant. Those two are going to have to have the big games if they want to keep it close. Middleton's fine. I'd rather get to Giannis, though. I think, I'd rather have Drew than Middleton, too, for the discount. Drew, also same thing I'll say about Giannis, right? More of a GPP play because of the blowout risk, but should play, 35-plus minutes in a close game and has a ton of upside if Detroit can somehow keep it close. Now, I think if you think this game blows out, which is a pretty good chance it does, Bobby Portis is the guy you want to look to. The two competitive games so far, he's played 16 and 18 minutes. The four blowouts, 26, 26, 26, and 25 minutes. He should play about that again. Fantastic matchup. So do like Bobby Portis a good amount for GPPs. Again, you kind of need the blowout, but he can still get you there in a close game, right? In 20 minutes, he could definitely still get you there. But if the game does blow out, I think you want to look to a guy like Bobby Portis. All right, let's move on to the Pacers and the Pelicans. So Pacers, Sabonis, like him as a spend up at the top. I think he's going to be a little bit lower owned. But the thing with Sabonis is minutes, right? He's playing like 38 to 40 minutes a game. He's stuffing the stat sheet. He has a pretty high floor. Even in a game where Brogdon went crazy and Sabonis didn't shoot the ball a ton, he still put up 40 fantasy points. I think Sabonis is one of the safer plays on the board at 9.5. Brogdon, my issue with I am a Malcolm Brogdon fan, but again, you're buying high in him, almost 8K after the really good shooting game. He's not going to shoot like that again, most likely. Ownership might be up on him. I think like 8K is a little much for Brogdon. He can still get you there, but I think more of a secondary play for that price. Oladipo is still fine. He shot the ball 3 of 16 the last game, put up 33 fantasy points. So with these Pacer starters, they're going to play big minutes. So Oladipo, Brogdon, and Sabonis are all in play because of the minutes, right? And if the game stays competitive, they all should play 35 plus. Turner's a secondary option for me. As far as the value goes, McDermott, Justin Holiday, Aaron Holiday should all kind of fill in for TJ Warren. I mean, Aaron Holiday's the cheapest of the bunch. If you need someone to punt with, I think he's fine, but has a pretty low floor. We saw the last game. Now, the ownership will be low. And he's the guy that can get hot and put up like 20 plus. So it's not the worst punt, but don't feel great about it. Kind of the same with Justin Holiday. Not a super high floor, but probably gets to 15 to 20 fantasy points. Again, that's fine. McDermott at 4.7. Again, pretty scoring dependent. So that last game, he wasn't getting a shot going. Had 10 fantasy points. That's a risk with him. So like really, the Pacers value I'm not super excited about. All right, well, let's move on to the Pelicans. So Pelicans, Ingram, and Zion are firmly in play at 8.4 and 7.9 respectively because both should play big minutes in a competitive game. The matchup is not necessarily the best, but both these guys should get some good run. I think they're decent plays. I probably like the upside a little bit more on Ingram compared to Zion. Now with Lonzo Ball versus Eric Bledsoe, they're just taking turns having the big game. Both are playing about 30 minutes, but I don't want to go there in this slate. They're just more secondary options for me. Steven Adams, again, perfect cash game play. We'll play about 30 minutes. We'll get you 25 to 35 fantasy points. So firmly in play in cash games. Josh Hart at 4.9 is fine. Should play high 20s minutes, but not a priority for me. The value, probably not going to do it. I mean, JJ Redick has been shooting the ball absolutely terrible. Maybe he finally gets it going, but still don't know if I can do it. NAW, again, not really a big part of his regular rotation, so probably can't do that either. And that's it for the Pelicans. So last game here, Kings and Warriors. This is a game that looks pretty appealing to me. So I like De'Aaron Fox at the top. I mean, this Kings team just has a really, really condensed rotation, right? Like the starters, besides Marvin Bagley, all play 35-plus minutes as long as there's no foul trouble. And this is a fantastic matchup, late-night hammer. I'm pretty high on De'Aaron Fox. But like I said, you got to make some tough calls at point guard tonight. There's a lot of good point guard options, even some value, right? So just got to make some tough calls. I don't think De'Aaron Fox is going to be super popular, right? Steph Curry is going to be the chalk tonight. If you want to pivot off chalk Steph Curry, Fox is an interesting pivot in the same game. Or you could just play both and go kind of a game stack. I don't mind that either. I do like the upside a lot in this game. So De'Aaron Fox, I like a good amount there at 8.2. As far as Buddy Hield at 6.8, kind of reliant in the scoring. Hasn't been shooting the ball the best, but the minutes are there. I think he's a fine GBP play. And Harrison Barnes, I still don't know what's getting into him, but he's been playing really well. I might play him tonight. This might be the first time I play Harrison Barnes ever. And you know, if I'm playing him, he's going to go back to his old ways and go for like 12 real-life points and 3 boards, and that's it. Like, that's the Harrison Barnes I know. The Harrison Barnes I know is the stand in the corner, shoot 3, very reliant in the scoring, big minutes, low-usage guy. I don't know what's getting into him this season. He's been stepping it up. I don't think this continues. I'm a little bit worried about it, but the positives are good matchup, revenge game, minutes. All those things, I think, for 5-6 make Harrison Barnes a pretty solid play. I'm still a little skeptical, right? Same thing like I was with Darius Garland, and when I finally bought into Darius Garland, he busted. So a little bit worried about buying into Barnes, but yeah, right now I'm leaning towards playing him. Also, gotta have interest in Rashawn Holmes at 5.6. 32, 36, and 33 minutes. He's playing a ton of minutes now. Fantastic matchup. As long as he stays out of foul trouble, he should play 30-plus minutes. It's a great matchup, got up-tempo, so I do like Rashawn Holmes a good amount there, 5.6. Again, though, center is pretty loaded, so you got to make some tough calls there. Bagley's just a secondary play because of the minutes, right? He's playing mid-20s minutes. Would rather play Holmes, who's getting more run, about 10 more minutes. Now, Halliburton is out, so another value play I like is Corey Joseph. But again, only point guard. Like, really, we couldn't get shooting guard eligibility here because if he was shooting guard eligible, he'd be one of my favorite value plays. But there's just so many good plays at point guard. You have the value in Joseph and Peyton Pritchard. You have the spend-ups like Steph and Luka and Harden and John. There's just a lot of good, and De'Aaron Fox. There's a lot of good point guard plays. You got to make some really, really tough calls tonight. Corey Joseph should play over 30 minutes with no Halliburton. It's a good matchup. I like him for value, but again, point guard is loaded. I want to keep repeating that. Bjelica, Whiteside. Whiteside's out of the rotation. Bjelica plays about 15 minutes. Probably don't have to go there. Let's finish it up with Golden State. So Golden State, Steph Curry's going to be the chalk tonight. After that big game, right? I got him at low ownership last slate. I got him at like 20% ownership. This slate, that's not going to be the case. He's going to be the chalk after that 75 fantasy point game, 62 real life points. Again, a fantastic matchup against the Kings who play up-tempo. Gotta like Steph. Again, the ownership is going to be really, really high, so I think you can make the argument to fade. But right now, this Golden State team just doesn't have a ton of talent. Steph is the reason they stay competitive in games, so gotta like him at that price. I think he's one of the best spend-ups. Wiggins and Oubre, they're fine. Again, I don't play Andrew Wiggins, but he's been decent. He's been getting like mid-30s fantasy points. I think that's fine at that price. Oubre's been really struggling shooting, but again, should play over 30 minutes. I think he's also fine, not a priority for me. Now, Draymond Green did play 28 minutes the last game. I still probably don't do it unless we get news that he's like off his minutes limit. If we get news that Draymond Green is full go, I actually do like him a good amount, but I think they're going to continue to limit him to like mid-20s minutes, so more of a secondary play. Wiseman at 5K, there's better centers on the board for me to go there. As far as the bench guys, there's too many guys that for me to take a shot here. The one guy I will mention is Kent Bazemore. It's a revenge game. He's played 17 and 20 minutes off the bench last two games, so he's kind of been the first guy off the bench. Again, good matchup, revenge game narrative. I think you could do worse. It's a risky play. Definitely wouldn't go there in cash. There's safer cash game plays, right, with like Pritchard and Corey Joseph and those Pistons value. Those guys are safer value. If you want to like differentiate yourself from the field, Bazemore does intrigue me. I think he gets close to 20 minutes again in a good spot. Revenge game narrative again if you're into that. So that's really it for my breakdown, guys. Let's see if we got any more news, and then we'll get to some questions. One more time, though, we'll ask if you enjoy this content to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Okoro out and Darius Garland out. Okay, so those two are out. Going to be interesting to see what the Cavs do with the starting lineup, but definitely some value there. Obviously makes Sexton look good, too. Like, Sexton is a lot more viable now at that price. Just another point guard you can throw into the mix of all the point guards on this slate. So let's see if we got the Cavs starting lineup yet. Not yet, but yeah, again, we can go back to the Cavs. They're really thin at guard. So, like, Sexton's going to start. He's going to play huge minutes. Exum probably starts and plays big minutes. You know, do they start Damian Dotson? Maybe. But they're just really thin. Like, C.D. Osman, I would think, probably starts. All in all, they just don't have a lot of bodies. So, yeah, Cleveland is really, really thin. You should see big minutes from these guys. Again, Sexton a lot more viable now that Garland is out. All right, let's get to it, guys. We're almost at 600 viewers and 125 likes. Again, thank you guys very much for the support. Sadiq Bey, blowout proof. So I think that's a good question. I was debating that myself. He's a rookie. I would think he plays in the blowout, but I'm not like 100% on that. Garland out, yep. Tonight's a mess. Power forward for 6,100 or less. Power forward for 6,100. I think I would go Aaron Gordon there against the Cavs. Clint Capella and Thompson or Thompson and Holmes. That's a tough one too. Again, so Capella versus Holmes is really close to me. I think it's basic coin flip. Like, I like both. Capella should play about 30 minutes. Holmes should play about 35. I like them both. Exum low owned. Yeah, Exum's now a viable punt. Dotson starting. Did we just get that news that he's starting? Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so Damian Dotson is now a viable punt for sure. I mean, I would think he probably plays at least 25 minutes, I would say. Let's see. Is he... I'm guessing he's only shooting guard eligible, though. I'm going to check. Yeah, he's only shooting guard eligible, which makes it a little trickier. But, hey, starting guard at 3.2K should get some decent run. Don't think he's the worst play. So, yeah, like Exum and Dotson are viable punts, right? Because someone's just got to score the ball. Austin Rivers had a big game. You can go there, but I'm not convinced he gets a ton of minutes. Favorite small forward play? I don't really have a favorite small forward play. Small forward's a position that I've kind of been filling in with what works in my lineup. So, like, at the top for small forward, I like, obviously like Simmons and Tatum and Ingram. In the mid-range, again, I think, like, you can go to Ross and GPPs. I think Barnes looks like a somewhat safe play. I can't believe I'm saying that. Cheaper guys, I mean, it's like Finney-Smith. You have Sadiq Bey. So, yeah, there's no real, like, standout play for me. Is Dotson doable? You can do it. I don't know how many minutes he gets. I would say at least 25. He could play 35. If I knew Damian Dotson plays 35 minutes tonight, him and Exum are guys that, yeah, you can punt with. Collins or Wood, I'd rather have Wood. Yeah, Sexton's a lot more viable now. Again, with no Darius Garland, he's going to have to do more scoring. I think he, like another point guard, you're going to have to make some tough calls on. Need a shooting guard for 5,700. Let's see. Shooting guard in 5,700. Honestly, I don't love this range. I mean, Bogdan against the Knicks, he's been struggling a bit. Seth Curry, kind of relying on the scoring, but it's a good matchup. Jay Rich doesn't have a ton of upside playing alongside Luka. So, yeah, it's probably Seth Curry for me. Favorite spend-up center? That's a good question. I would say Giannis and GPPs, just because if the game stays close, he has a ton of upside. But below that, I mean, you got to make a tough call. I think Embiid versus Sabonis versus Vucevic versus Drummond versus Randall. I don't have like a super strong take on the spend up centers. Best cash game guard for 5,700. Yeah, so I don't love that range for guard. I mean, the issue with the Charlotte guys is if Devontae Graham plays well, he will play more minutes, and then LaMelo Ball gets limited. With LaMelo Ball, you kind of need Graham to struggle. So, like, could you go to one of those guys in cash? Yeah, but you kind of need one of those circumstances to happen. I guess Seth Curry. Again, I don't love Seth Curry tonight. I just think like he probably gets 30 minutes. He's been getting some shot attempts up. It's a good matchup, so I guess him. But yeah, don't love it. Barnes or Barrett. Well, if you can get to RJ Barrett. Sexton or Oladipo? That's a good question. I think it's still Oladipo for me. That's close. Dotson or Pritchard for cheap play? I think I would go Pritchard there. Yeah, Pritchard's still viable. Bay, Wright, or Pritchard? Good question. I think those are three of the better value plays in the slate. I don't have a super strong take there. I think go with what works with your lineup. Like Pritchard probably plays 30-plus minutes. Bay probably plays about 30. Wright probably plays 25-plus. I mean, if things go right, I think DeLon Wright has the most upside. But still a little bit like if the game blows out, he's riskier because if the game blows out, which it probably will, DeLon Wright will get limited a bit. Dotson or Bazemore? I think Dotson's definitely safer now starting. Finney Smith or Bullock for forward? That's a good question. Almost identical plays, right? They're both low usage guys. Both should play 30-plus minutes. Finney Smith, but yeah, they're very, very similar plays. DeLon Wright or Exum for cash? Again, that's a tough question because I like the upside of DeLon Wright, but that game has a really good chance to blow out. And if it does, I don't think DeLon Wright plays in the blowout. So it's just tricky. I like the upside more in DeLon Wright, so that's a tough call there. Low-owned center play? Good question, Connor. I think a low-owned center, a couple low-owned centers I like. Again, I don't think Sabonis is going to be popular. I also don't think Julius Randle are going to be popular. So kind of like them as lower-owned centers. Value centers, again, value centers probably like Tristan Thompson for me, but I think like low-owned center would be like Sabonis that I like, Drummond, Randall, Vooch. Like this range is not going to be super popular with some of the other stars on the slate, but I think those guys are nice contrarian low-owned centers. You like Sacramento? I do. I think that game looks pretty appealing. Wall or Wood? That's so close because both point guard and center are loaded tonight. I'll go Wall, but that's by the thinnest of margins. Sexton or Van Fleet for cash? Also a good question. I'll go Sexton now just because they're really thin, right? Just because the Cavs have two pretty low usage guys in Dotson and Exum in the lineup. So like Sexton's have to do even more. Dotson or Pritchard for cheap play? I think I'd rather have Pritchard still. I already went over that. Fox or Sexton? So for me, I would rather have De'Aaron Fox. That is close though. 5,500 for forward. I think that's a tricky range again. Yeah, see, not a lot of like in this range. I think for GPPs, you can go Boucher and just hope he gets the minutes. But again, minutes are still a little up and down on him. I would say for like a cash game setting, probably like Josh Richardson or DeAndre Hunter would be the guys I would look to. I mean, you can go Oubre too, but I don't love that range. Wiggins is trash, and he's just up and down. I don't play Wiggins, but he's been decent recently. I think he's a fine play. Holmes, Capella, Adams. Yeah, those guys are three pretty good options at center. Waller, Fox. Again, that's very, very close for me. House is out. Is that Dan Wall House? He is out. All right. So that changes some things. With Dan Wall House out, I think Eric Gordon is a little bit more viable now, but still, like, he's the number 4 behind these 3 guys. As far as value goes, who gets the minutes? I think it could be like a combination of like Nwaba, Sterling Brown, Tate, McLemore. So I don't think it does a lot for me with House being out. I don't think it does a lot for me. Makes Eric Gordon a little bit more viable, but I'm still probably not going to get to the Houston value. Herder or MCW. Did we get news that Herder's in? I think we did, right? Yeah, Kevin Herder available to play. I think I'll go Herder. Capella or Holmes, again, that's basically 50-50 for me. I think go with if you have the salary, maybe Capella, but Capella will play about 30 minutes in a great spot. Holmes about 35. Ross and Fournier have to be out for Anthony. Yeah, so Anthony is a guy that I'm probably not going to do just because based off the minutes the last game, I thought he would get a little extended more, but he did only play, 17 minutes. Pay for Giannis or save with Tatum. Depends what you're playing. I like Giannis for GPPs, but there's a big blowout risk. So much value all of a sudden, a little bit more value, right? Those Cavs guys are now in play with Exum, with Damian Dotson. It's kind of gross value, but they're thin. Sabonis or Tatum, I'd rather have Sabonis. Thoughts on playing Harden and John Wall. You can do it. If I'm going to do that, though, I would run it back with Luka Doncic. If I'm playing Harden and Wall together, I'm going with the game stack and hoping that game is super, super fast-paced and really high scoring or goes to OT. So if I do that, I'm playing Luka. Favorite power forward, 5,900. I think I answered that. I think it's Aaron Gordon. Don't love this range, but I think I would go, Aaron Gordon at 5,900. I think I would do that. Thoughts on SGA, not for me. Exum or Pritchard? I think it's Pritchard for me, but that's close. How do you like Wall, Barrett, Barnes, Portis, Sabonis, Pritchard, Tatum, Dotson? I think it's fine. It's a little contrarian. Thoughts on Tatum? Tatum's a decent option, not a priority for me. Holmes and Barnes in the same lineup. Yep, you can do it. I think Tristan Thompson's a very safe play. Thoughts on Randall? Like him as a contrarian play. I don't think Randall's going to be that high owned. I don't think Sabonis is going to be that high owned. Like those guys in like a 9K range are going to go under owned just because, Steph is in that range. So like Steph's going to eat up all that ownership, making those guys good GPP plays. With Smart out Boston in play, yeah. Again, Pritchard, like slight boost of the guys at the top. Interested to see what they do with the starting lineup. Again, I think possibly they could start like Carson Edwards or Tremont Waters. Holmes is a steal. I think Holmes is a little underpriced for sure. Which one? Luka Capella versus Bam Brogdon versus Jaylen Brown Zion. Luka Capella for me. Bucks value live with blowout risk and Patsy out. Let's see. Jeremy Grant and Cash are too risky. I would say it's too risky, so I don't think I would do it. For GPPs, yeah. Again, if I'm playing Giannis, I run it back with Jeremy Grant or Derrick Rose. Fox, Drummond, Siakam core thoughts? It's contrarian. Very contrarian. Like, Siakam's going to be very low owned. All three are going to be pretty low owned. Like, I do like De'Aaron Fox, but it's the opportunity cost of playing him at point guard, right? There's a lot of good point guard plays. Sexton and Oladipo or Curry and Herder? That's a good one. That's a good question. Hard to fade Curry, in my opinion. In cash, at least. So I think the second one in cash. Tatum or Harris? I'd rather have Jason Tatum. House is out. Yeah, it doesn't do a ton for me, though. LaMelo Ball in play. LaMelo Ball is definitely viable as a GPP play. Yeah, you can play all three of those guys in Sacramento. They run a really tight rotation. So Fox, Holmes, Barnes, Curry. Yeah, you can do that. I think that's fine. Thompson or McGee. Thompson is safer. My lineup is Pritchard, Sexton, Bay, Portis, Capella, Fox, Tatum, Wood. What do you take? I think that's fine. I mean, there's a little bit of risk. You don't necessarily need the blowout, but obviously it helps for Bobby Portis. I think Sadiq Bey, Fringe. Fringe if he plays in the blowout or not. I'm not convinced, right? Because they have like some end of the bench guys they will use. Like Sekou will play in the blowout. Svi Mikhailuk will play in the blowout. Let's go to Detroit. Just kind of talk this over. So for blowouts, does Sadiq Bey play? I would lean towards yes. But Jeremy Grant, no. Derrick Rose, no. Plumlee, no. DeLon Wright, no. So I think guys playing in the blowout would probably be Isaiah Stewart, Sekou, Svi. Yeah, I think Bey plays, and maybe Killian Hayes plays in the blowout. So, yeah, I think Killian Hayes is a safer value either way just because he plays no matter what. $2 super chat. Thank you, man. SC, Sex, Vooch, Hunter, Wood, Pritch, Barnes, TT, Cash. SC. Wait, so who's SC? Steph Curry. Yeah, okay. So Steph Curry, Sexton, VIC. Was that Victor? Are you talking about Victor Oladipo? Vic? Yeah, okay. So Seth Curry, Colin Sexton, Victor Oladipo, Hunter, Wood, Pritchard, Barnes, Tristan Thompson for Cash. I think that's good for Cash. Thoughts on Harden and Wall together in the same lineup. Again, if I do that, I'm playing Luka. I'm taking the risk with Bay. Well, yeah, I think he will. Again, just went over that. I think he does play in the blowout. Cole Anthony in play. I don't think I would do Cole Anthony. I think there's better value. Trae Young or Fox. Fox for the discount. Wiggins is a bum. Again, I don't play Wiggins, but he's been decent. Oubre and Jay Rich or Jaylen Brown and Dotson. I think I'd rather the second option. All right, guys. I am going to get out of here, though. So good luck tonight. I hope you guys all win big. Let's pray for some good luck. And, yeah, thanks again for everyone to come in to check out the stream. We hit almost 600 concurrent viewers. So thank you guys again. And as always, video will be up later tonight for tomorrow's slate. So good luck, and I will see you guys all tomorrow.